Welcome back, everybody. This week on the Ink Tool, we're going to be taking a look at the final of the Pelikan 4001 series of bottled inks. This is Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Brown. Now, getting here was a little bit of an adventure that took a few months. I mean, after all, there were other reviews in between. But my overall feeling for this line of inks is actually pretty good. There is also one asterisk that we may want to mention, and that happens to be the fact that I still can't find an in-stock bottle of Pelikan Blue Black. If I do find myself in possession of a bottle, I promise that review will be coming soon. That aside, we're here for Brilliant Brown. And I must say, brown happens to be one of those colors that I don't work with that often. It's not that it's a bad color, it's just that brown, much like black, is a color that I normally find boring and often not done well. So does Brilliant Brown fall into that category, or does it surprise? Let's go ahead and take a look. I must say that one thing I have always found accurate with these Pelikan inks, at least, is that the ink splotch logo thing in the upper left of the label is actually pretty color accurate. And for a person like me that's never actually tried the ink, I do find that having a good color representation gives me an idea of what I'm going to be getting into. And another thing I'm finding more and more common is that these bottles are definitely made to last. I've ordered the last few from Amazon just to fill a cart, and they have come having seen better days. But they're not leaking, they're not broken, and I've always got 30 ml of ink waiting for me in every situation. And bottle design is definitely key to a good product. Speaking of the product, let's go ahead and take a look at the colors that we're getting here. So on the lighter tones, we're seeing a little bit more of a sepia tone. Not much brown, not really tan, but kind of a good mix between. And we also see on the darker tones that it's giving us a nice transition from a good full brown that we kind of grew up with, if you grew up with Crayola crayons at all, fading into a nice brown black. And I really do like that color transition. I will say the one area where I was potentially let down, though, has to be the dry time. Coming out of a broad nib, you can see that after 30 seconds, we're still not dry. And on papers like Tomoe River, that's going to lead to a bad time. But if you've got this ink in a fine nib, you're almost completely dry at 10 seconds and definitely dry at 15. So that's a good performance, but you're going to have to be mindful of the nib that you put this ink in. Which, speaking of the nib that I had this ink in, this was my Pelikan M800 Stone Garden with a broad nib. As you could see on the very first part of it did hard start ever so slightly. That is a common theme that I found with this ink. Even in the fine nib, that very first stroke of the writing session always hard started. Now, I haven't seen that in any of the other 4001 series inks, but it happened consistently enough here that it's definitely something of note and something that you may want to be aware of if this ink is on your radar. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the water performance of Brilliant Brown. Overall, this isn't a bad result after 5 minutes of soaking in water. We're not left with any of the original color in the parts that were heavily hit, but we have a good enough ghosting of the image that it is recoverable. If this was out of 5 points, this ink would definitely be getting a 3.5 out of 5, which is still really good for water resistance. But let's talk overall thoughts. As has been the case with quite a few of the inks in the 4001 series lineup, this has to be taken with a grain of salt. Like Brilliant Black, my experience with brown inks has been rather limited. I've only used maybe 3 in the couple hundred of inks that I've tried thus far. The majority of it has been experiences with blue. No surprise there. But I have to say, my overall experience with this ink was a very pleasant one. For a brown ink, it's not boring. It has a nice shading profile from light to dark. The dry time could be better, but in a fine nib, it's a very well-behaved ink. And I really do like how it fits into the overall lineup. It's not too red, it's not too tan, it's a nice, firm brown. And I really do think it lives up to the brilliant moniker that it's been given. And of course, the price is spot on. These 30ml bottles are definitely good for cart fillers, or if you want a good, reliable ink that's not going to cost you $40 a bottle. You know which brands I'm talking about there. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out the channel on Twitter and Instagram, links down below. And also, if you want to support the channel, head on over to Patreon and consider supporting there. I'll see you guys next time.